Cody, man, thank you so much for coming back on the show here today. Really excited to have you on and reconnect a little bit. Could you start by just telling us a little bit about yourself?
Oh gosh, yeah. First of all, thank you for having me back on, man.
Yeah.
This is it's always fun.
Always fun, man.
Yeah. So I am a father, husband. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a coach, sports nutritionist, and a trainer, and I run a company called Tailored Coaching Method, which is an online coaching company for fitness and nutrition. I run a podcast called Choose Hard, and man, I'm a coach. I love coaching. I'm a dad. I'm a husband. And I'm a coach. That's really, if I had to boil it down to what I spend my life doing, it's basically those three things, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Dude, that sounds exactly like me. That's probably why we get along so well.
Yeah.
Man, what's new since the last time we chatted, or just like give us a year or two recap? What's new in your world, man?
Yeah, gosh, a lot, man. It is, man, since the last time we were on each other's show, I believe, man, it has been a lot of things. I've been developing an app for the last, which started as way back. We're doing nutrition coaching for people, and they needed good programming, but some people couldn't afford to do both with us. And so we're okay, they're going to, and sorry if this is anybody off, they're going to Orange Theory and they're upset that they're not getting stronger or something. And I'm like, okay.
Right.
And there's a place for that. If you're overweight and we're helping you and you love it and it's fun, do it. Keep doing it.
Yeah.
But there was people that weren't, and they needed something more. And so I was like, let me put something together. And it turned into like a WordPress login, send them PDFs way back,
Oh man. Yeah.
And then people would sign up for this membership and download 18 PDFs from the last year of my program and then cancel their membership. I'm like, okay, this isn't a very smart business protocol.
Right.
So that kind of eventually turned into more and more. And now we started actually developing an app. I gave 20% of the company to the developer that has been helping me so he can really do this the right way. That's the Taylor Trainer. It's something it's like a passion project on the side, but it's been a big focus the last couple of years. It's been really fun. A huge headache at the same time because developing an app from scratch, all the coding and everything is just, it's a nightmare, but that's been a big undertaking. The podcast has been a huge focus of ours. I rebranded that to Choose Hard, which has been, that again started inside coaching. It was just like a saying that I would say. I even said it to my daughter all the time too. It was something I would say to her when she was going through challenges at school or we were trying to do stuff around the house and I wanted her to help. And we would tell clients they're trying to avoid grabbing a glass of wine at the end of the night. Something simple. Choose hard. Hard path leads to the good result. And people started saying it in our culture, in our community. And then I was just kind of screwing around one day. I'm like, let me see if this is trademarked. And it somehow wasn't. So I got the trademark. So now it's 100% copyrighted by me. And we changed the podcast name. We started making these like hats and everything for everybody.
I know. I need those, man. I need a hat.
I'll be sending you a hat and a little gift package as soon as we get you on the podcast again, man. That's been my thing for guests.
Yes.
The journals and everything. So it's been fun, man. Building out a lot of that. It's kind of my own little personal brand and just associated with the podcast. It's been a blast. And then just the coaching company, which has been a whirlwind. We grew the company I had 9 coaches on staff. We grew bigger than I ever thought I could grow an online fitness and nutrition company. And with that comes a lot of challenges. And part of those challenges are managing a team and having good culture and all of us having aligned core values, especially in a world that is going through so much change and chaos constantly. So the company went through so many just challenges and changes. We downsized. Some people left on good terms. Some people I had to fire. And that is never a fun thing, especially when you're doing your hobby as a job. Like, it's the worst place to be in. And as a leader, you have to do it though. And so we've built this core team now. We have 5 coaches underneath me. And it's been a really cool beginning to this year because that was all 2024 and 2025 was removing, adding people, changing systems, changing softwares, trying to figure out how to manage things, developing ways to help people that they're going through the same kind of chaos in their own life, and that's how we came up with the self-formation process, really. And so it's been, man, 2023, 4, and 5 have been one big year for me. It just felt like one long year,
Yes. So that's so funny. I think I'm going through a lot of the same things. We changed kind of the business structure at the gym, kind of like rebranding, like kind of redirecting myself through RTS and some of the stuff that I'm trying to do there. And man, it just feels like a lot, right? Yeah. It feels like, especially when you've got like something kind of stable, you're like, this is good. And then you try and make it better. And then it's not quite where I want to be. Sometimes it just takes time to like figure out, no, this is exactly how I want it to look and feel. And when you do get it to that point, it feels pretty damn good though.
Yeah. And you probably know this because you've been coaching longer than me, man. There's probably going to be, 5 years from now or whatever it is, probably start doing it again because
I know.
I've talked to a lot of people that Andy is one of them who you know really well. Yep. Obviously he's like a mentor of mine in a way. And I remember him and a couple other people like kind of laughing and going, "You're at that stage." Yeah. It happens in waves. It's like, oh, you're going through that season again. Like, and which is annoying and reassuring at the same time. It's like, God damn it, man. And then also, well, I'm glad it's not just me. This is part of business and this is what we signed up for. So
it's part of being an entrepreneur, man. You know, it's never really steady for super long, right? Yeah. There's always something to navigate or to change or to work through. So, man, I've got so much stuff that I want to talk to you about here today. And you and I've kind of gone back and forth on this a little bit. So I'm just going to tell everybody who is listening, Cody did this amazing 4-part series, and I'm going to link to all those in the show notes. So if you want to go listen to the full episodes, I would highly recommend that. They are amazing. But what we're going to do today is kind of condense it down, give you the cliff notes of all of these, and hopefully give you something at the end of this episode that is super helpful to you. So I'm going to apologize upfront, Cody, because this is a really long question. And I'm going to make you kind of think hard for this.
Okay.
But what I want to do is try to just give everybody that's listening some definitions, right? So what I'd love to do at the start is define 2 things. What's the difference between self-control and self-discipline? And then maybe along those same lines, what's the difference between self-belief and self-respect?
Love it.
So let's just start with self-control and self-discipline first. What's the difference between those two? Because they sound about the same.
They do. The way I would define those to really clearly help people understand the difference is looking at self-control as an action or a habit. It's almost like a verb. It is the act of doing something. It's refraining from something. And this is where it's very important for people when they are trying to lose weight and trying to diet to understand that restriction is not a bad thing. We usually look at restriction as a bad thing. Elimination is a bad thing in the dieting world. That's true because if you go keto, you have to eliminate all carbs. There is times where keto makes sense. It's usually medical purposes, but the point being, eliminating things is not a good look. You should include things in your diet, which automatically kind of pushes the bad things in your diet away pretty easily. It's better to include more fruits and veggies than it is to eliminate all processed foods, right? It's a mindset frame. But I say that because restriction is literally what is required to create a calorie deficit. You just have to restrict calories. So understanding that, accepting it, and not demonizing that word is really important. And self-control is what you are doing every single time you have to act on restriction, right? Self-control in different scenarios of life, it's not restricting calories. Self-control in the marriage is a lot different. You are restricting yourself from temptation, right? Calories for dieting, training, it could be something else. But self-control is typically, it's that trait, it's that habit, it's the thing you're acting on. Self-discipline is more of a characteristic that you acquire as you display self-control more often. Self-discipline is what replaces motivation. I think Mike Tyson said it best. I butcher it a little bit, but Mike Tyson said something along the lines of, self-discipline is doing what you don't want to do repetitively in order to get the result you want to get, even when you don't feel like doing it, right? Like it's just, no matter what, I'm waking up and I'm doing the work. It's the fact that I get to this gym and to this office every single week and I do what I got to do requires discipline at times, right? Yeah. Self-control is the action of us avoiding certain things. As we do that more, we don't have to try as hard because self-discipline is starting to build in us. Then when we have more self-discipline, we're able to act on our goals. We're able to act on the path to get there, so on and so forth, when we don't have motivation present. So it's almost like an action that creates a skill or a trait or a characteristic, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
And then if you want, I can go into self-belief and self-respect too.
Yeah, please.
So easiest way to look at self-belief is the obvious, what people think in their head is like, this is believing in yourself, literally.
Right.
But it's the opposite of self-doubt. And so the way I like to look at this for a lot of clients is the more self-doubt you have, the less self-belief you have. And it's almost like a point system. The more you doubt yourself, the less belief you'll have in yourself. And when we look at that and we go, every time I set a goal, every time I say I'm going to do something, whether it is, hey, babe, I'll take out the trash this morning, and I don't do it, she now has less belief that I will follow through with what I said I would do. Even if it's a minuscule thing, that stacks up over time, which is also why people need to be very transparent about what they say they will do. Put the caveat, if I have time, if I remember, like even just give yourself something with that, because it happens very internally. If I don't do the dishes after I said I was going to do the dishes 18 times, my wife would never say, I don't believe in my husband, because it's a subconscious thing that lives in her. But next time I say I'm going to do something, she's going to be like, yeah, okay. Because she doesn't believe me. So every time I tell myself, I'm going to lose weight this time, I'm going to keep the weight off this time, I'm going to stick to my diet this time, I'm going to get to the gym this week, and I don't, I believe in myself less and less and less, because I'm creeping self-doubt up. It's almost like a fuel tank. So what we want to teach people is to follow through better. Self-belief is the result of follow through. Discipline is what allows you to follow through very consistently when you don't want to follow through. Discipline is acquired by creating more self-control, by acting against your temptations and restricting yourself when you need to over and over and over again. It's almost like do some shit you don't feel like doing, do some stuff, choose hard over and over and over again, and you will acquire discipline, which allows you to follow through, because most of the things that we say we're going to do, we don't want to do it. I have to tell myself I'm going to get back to the gym this week because I don't want to go to the gym, you know? So you have to have this trait and characteristic of being somebody who is willing to do that because you said you would do it. And when you do that consistently, you have raised the bar of what your own personal standards are. Your standard is set that I go to the gym every week, even if I don't want to. My standard for dieting is I don't eat out of a bag or a box. I only drink on Saturdays. I do whatever. My standards in my marriage are I date my wife every Saturday, whether it's at home or we get a babysitter like we are this weekend, I can take her out. This is my standard. And when I don't, the downside of that is success comes with a responsibility. So when I don't follow through with that, it's not just me I'm hurting, it's my wife I'm hurting. But with fitness and nutrition and what we coach clients on, it's yourself that you're hurting with that, right? So self-respect comes from doing hard things over time, following through, which develops that self-belief and allows you to set bigger goals and outcomes and continue, because there comes a certain point where people start to doubt themselves. It's at the beginning of a goal that they set, and it's about halfway or about 75% of the way. That's usually when self-sabotage kicks in. And so for us, if we can double down on that belief at that point of their journey, that's when they're able to really finish that goal. And self-respect only comes when you finish the goal. So what I tell a lot of clients as well is an easy example of how to figure this out is figure out all of this is to write down some people that you respect, that you have a high level of respect for, and then write down why you respect them. 9 times out of 10, it's hard things. They got through a hard period of life and they did it with a lot of grace or poise or confidence, or you didn't even know anything was wrong because they held themselves together. They got through a tough disease or tough marriage, relationship, business struggle, whatever it is. They had a huge weight loss transformation. It's always something hard. That's what creates this respect for them. So first it does for clients is I accept now that I have to do hard things in order to have a high degree of self-respect. Self-respect is very similar to self-confidence in a way, right?
Yeah.
But it comes from that standard. When you follow through consistently, your standard raises, the expectations you have for yourself go up. That's a level of self-respect. And that respect creates accountability internally. So there's something called your locus of control. It's basically where your internal drive comes from. And we can lean on that more when we go through this process. And the higher that bar is, the more we can lean on our own locus of control, our own internal drive and motivation to get the result. And we realize this because people work with us, but they're not going to work with us forever. We tell them right away. We're like, we're an online coaching company that helps people lose fat. We have clients that this is part of their life. I have some guys that have been with me for 5 years, literally, because this is what we do. And I love it. But most people, they come in to work with us, they get a result, they figure out how to sustain that result on their own, and they leave. And this last part of it, the self-respect part, is what allows them to sustain it long-term. Because the people who sustain a healthy body, a strong physique, a good-looking physique, they have a certain standard of how they treat their body that they are accountable to, because they raised that bar and that standard, and they respect themselves enough to stick to it.
I love it.
Does that make sense?
I love it. It makes perfect sense. Now I want to go all the way back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Because something I think intuitively we all know make an impact on us are the environment, right? Mm-hmm. Where we are every day, and the people around us. So talk to me about how your people and your environment impact your self-control.
Yeah, this is huge. What's interesting about what most research shows is the words we use internally, as well as the words we accept from others. So that's basically, and sometimes accepting isn't the right word. It's just what we take in.
Yeah, sure.
Whether I accept it or not, somebody says something to me, it's going to affect me.
Yeah, sure.
So the people we surround ourselves with, but the words specifically are what change and shape our identity. And then the culture in which we're a part of, the community we're in part of. You're the average of the 5 people around you, or whatever the saying is. It is so unbelievably true. So there's a couple really cool studies that they did that show this. One was more so about the words we tell ourselves and that we tell others. And this one specifically is about grade school kids. And so they took 2 groups of kids. They took one group and they all had great grades, and they split it into 2 groups. One group, I can't remember if it was parents or teachers, but they told the kids basically, you're so smart. You got A's, you're so smart. The other group, they said, you worked so hard. The group that they said you worked so hard to they continued to get good grades and pass tests. The group that they said you're so smart to repetitively started to decline, because when it becomes something that just happens and you're not in control of it, results go down. You're not in control of it. It's just how it is. This is genetics, whatever it may be, versus you work so hard. It's like you earned that. The only way to keep it is to keep working for it. And so it instills that belief. So the words we listen to, the words we say, I would even go as far as to say, this changes with the music you listen to, which I have always listened to nothing but punk and metal and gangster rap. So like everything I shouldn't be putting in my ears is what is listening to. I've changed that a lot over the last few years because of seeing how it affects my mood, my energy, my mindset. And there was one study actually showed that you will choose your music based on your moods. So you almost have to use self-control to refrain from listening to what you want to listen to. So next time you're going to select a song, ask yourself, am I selecting this song based on my emotions? Now, sometimes it's a good thing. If I'm fired up in a good mood and I put on a song that's going to make me more fired up in a good mood,
great.
Perfect. If I'm not in a good mood or I'm stressed, I should probably listen to the opposite of what I'm about to play, because I'm probably going to listen.
Stressed out and angry, I shouldn't just be raging to Pantera in my car.
If you're working out, maybe.
Yeah.
If you're driving, maybe not.
Yeah,
I get some road rage. And a lot of times it's, more depressing music, whatever it may be, negative, but, and it's very subconscious. It's little things like that you can try to control over time that do help. And again, every time you control something and change your result because you're controlling it, that is a reminder that you are doing something you don't want to do to change the result and the outcome you're going to achieve, which really instills discipline and becomes a habit. And you don't have to try as hard. I don't have to think about or try hard or use energy to brush my teeth. I've been doing it for a long time. My daughter does.
Yep.
I have to remind her every night. Still, she's 7. I'm like, you still got to brush your teeth. So I think that's a big piece of it. And this is all the words, right? The other one is the environment. And the cool study on this one was with rats. And so I don't know if I mentioned this one in one of the podcasts I listened to, but they had this basically, and you can only do this with rats, and rats are very similar to us. But they basically got them addicted to morphine. And so these rats are addicted to morphine. They put them in this cage and they want to basically detox them, right? So they have all these different cages that put them in. And morphine is being dripped through one of the little fountain things that the mice drink out of. They put them into a cage with water instead. And they basically just miserably detox, and they're like fiending and stuff, or they get the choice, which is the second cage. They have the morphine drip or the water drip. And they will continue to choose the morphine drip. Then they have a cage that is bigger, and they have morphine on one side, water on the complete other side, and they have other rats in there. When the other rats are present, they will go to the water and they will literally detox themselves to get off of the morphine. When the rats aren't present with them, they will go to the side with the morphine. And it sounds so funny. I think the rats came together, but it is community. It gives them a reason to live. Yeah. It gives them a reason to change. It gives them a desire because the other rats weren't addicted to morphine. So our environment dictates the outcomes we want to achieve. You surround yourself with some other great trainers, you're going to want to become a great trainer a lot more. Surround yourself with successful people. I even think about this with, and I always kind of relate this to marriages because we're all in relationships for the most part, or we desire to be. When you surround yourself with other great dads and other great husbands, as a man, you see examples of how you should be showing up all the time, and you're way more motivated to do it. We're competitive. Yes, it's just absolutely part of it. So our culture, our community, and the words people speak to us, and that includes what we say to ourselves, which is part of the reason why affirmations, like the ones we put in our journals and all that stuff, are so important, because you are saying, I am blank, I will blank. You are speaking something into the universe, which is kind of cheesy and foo-foo, but what that does is it changes your subconscious behavior. And this is also confirmed by research. You will slowly, your attitudes, your reactions, your responses, your habits, the way you choose to do things will slowly shift to align with what you are speaking into the universe, because it's becoming a real thing.
Love it.
Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. Now I want to talk about, this like self-discipline side of things, right? Because you talked about self-control is kind of like the habit. It's like the doing, right? Yeah. And then discipline is something that's kind of born out of that, right? So talk to me about if-then frameworks. How do they help us build more self-discipline? Because this is something I've thought a lot about. And then you talked about it on the show. I was like, yes, I get that.
Yeah. So I think there's a few things here. One, in the beginning of this self-formation process, a lot of times I will tell people to focus more on self-control than self-discipline, only because self-discipline is kind of one of those things that just seems like it happens. When you display self-control over and over and over again, you're working towards something, you kind of just become a more disciplined person to an extent.
Yes.
The other side of it, and then I'll get to the if-then statements because those are really powerful. The other side of it is actually just deciding you are or will become a disciplined person, which sounds hilarious, and it kind of is. But there's actually a really good book by Menno Henselman, and it's about self-control. And it's basically, he just took all the studies on self-control and just basically was just reading, like just breaking them all down and showing examples. And it talks a lot about this in there. Individuals who have greater levels of self-discipline, like the big differentiator for them, amongst multiple things, the biggest differentiator was that they just said they were disciplined.
Really?
That's it. So individuals who decide that they're disciplined people tend to be more disciplined people, and they can't necessarily point to specific things. Now, they probably do more disciplined things after that, but this goes back to even the self-belief, which kind of jumps ahead of it. But the more you tell yourself you're not disciplined, the more likely it is that you're not going to be disciplined. And I see this all the time. We see it especially with like mothers they'll say like, I just don't have it in me to do this and that. And I'm like, okay, hold on. Let me just real quick. You have how many kids? I have 3. Okay. You have no self-control and you have 3 children. Like, you have self-control. Trust me.
Right.
Every time you go in public, you have self-control.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Right.
Discipline, control, all these traits, they can be translated. It's not always easy because it's a skill. But if you, and this is a perfect example for you because you work with way more athletes than me, and hopefully I'm not off on this, but if you have somebody who has never thrown any type of ball in their life, is that person more difficult? Or is it the person that needs to be great at throwing a football but has only ever thrown a baseball?
Yeah. So like
the latter's probably easier.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Different mechanics, of course, slightly different grip, different ball size, all that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day,
but they have the underlying skill, right? It's there.
Yes. That's how these traits work. And we tell people that it's like, hey, you have these traits in other areas of your life. You can't get to the age you're at. If you're even in your mid-20s, at this point, you have those traits to an extent. We just have to translate them over from these other areas. That actually does help people a lot because they start to understand that it's not this genetic gift. Like David Goggins is David Goggins because of the life he went through, not because he was born with this strand of DNA that made him who he is. It's epigenetics. It's his life and his upbringing that created that. He had to do so. We're choosing to do so, which makes it harder because you don't have to get in shape. You want to.
Right.
And so we do. Right. It's harder, but you get the point. Now, if-then statements, it's almost like habit stacking. If blank, then blank. And they show this in research to help create discipline quite a bit. a lot of it just makes the task feel easier. And it also creates a sense of accountability to what you're about to do. So if if I'm traveling, for example, I will lay these out pretty easily too, because it helps me bring habits with me on the road. If I'm trying to make sure I like keep my diet together, keep my activity up or whatever it may be while I'm on the road, if I'm traveling, then I will wake up an hour early and do cardio. If I'm traveling, then I will walk while drinking my coffee in the morning. So maybe I intentionally walk down the lobby and do a lap around the building because I know I'm not going to get as many steps in. If I'm booking a hotel, I will make sure there's a hotel or a grocery store within blank radius of the hotel. It's pairing up good decisions, right? If I brush my teeth, then I will blank. Like when you stack these together, it's a reminder, it's a sense of accountability, and it makes things a little bit lower barrier of entry, essentially. But what they find in research is that people develop habits that create discipline a lot easier when they pair things up. Because otherwise, what happens is you get to the situation, I travel, I still have to walk more or be more active or eat healthy, but I'm way less likely to do so because in that very moment, I got to figure out what to eat right now. It takes a lot more self-control and a lot more discipline to make a good decision when I need to right now than it does to pre-plan. I'm going to make this decision when this time comes, which it will come. It's less pressure. It's less anxiousness. It's not as difficult because I've already planned ahead. I'm already expecting it. And so the biggest thing with this is that when we do if-then statements, it almost like pre-plans what is required for discipline. And that what they say in the research is that it automates discipline. Because it's just automatically turning on. It's like a menu. I'm going to do this. It's already written. It's already done. I just have to fulfill it. I don't have to act and decide on it, which is what takes the most discipline in that moment.
Yeah, I love that. And it's funny you use the travel analogy because that's something where like I'm traveling this weekend, right? So I already know like it used to be when I traveled, I never worked out. Right. When you're in your 20s, it's like, hey, like I'm not traveling, I'm on the road, whatever, or I'm not working out, I'm on the road. But now it's like, no, when I'm on the road, I'm going to work out 45 minutes to an hour every day. I know if I go on the road, I'm going to have salad for lunch, right, with like a protein because I know dinner is generally going to be a bigger portion, right? Or we're going to go somewhere nice and there's going to be dessert involved. I mean, you remember our Nashville meals, right? We eat well. So it's like, I just think, like you said, it automates some of those things and it allows you to just make better choices in the moment. So it's not just like, oh, what do I do? Right? Because we all know when we just can default to kind of some of our lesser strategies, we're going to choose the easy option versus choosing the hard one.
Yeah. And that's ultimately how we respond to situations in life instead of react. Right. If you look at this in any scenario, if client quits, then I will do this. Like you're even just pre-planning how I'm going to respond to keep myself calm because we know getting worked up doesn't help any situation ever. Right.
Yep.
If we are drinking Saturday or if we're going out Saturday, then I will eat healthy Friday. I ate well on Friday when we went out because I knew I wasn't going to care on Saturday. I just pre-planned it. If I am flying, then I will Instacart on my way to the hotel. I do that every time. So I get off the airport. I don't usually get a rental if I can avoid it. Get an Uber and I do the Instacart in the Uber. So by the time I get to my hotel, the Uber guys, the Instacart is showing up in the lobby with my groceries. If I book a hotel, then I will have a fridge because I want to make sure that I can put stuff in it. It's literally just automatic. I just know. I already have like a saved grocery list at this point. I just know what I'm going to order because I've done it so many times. But it wouldn't happen if I didn't pre-plan the part that would require discipline. Because by the time I get to the hotel, I'm hungry. I don't want to find a grocery store. I'm just like, screw it. Let's get tacos. They're right there. Diet goes out the window. So and when you can do it, it's like when they say don't go to the grocery store hungry.
Yes,
it's the same thing, right? If I do this 3 days before I even go there, I'm not acting on emotions. I'm acting on logic by planning it out, and that means it doesn't require as much discipline. So part of developing discipline is actually just automating it by removing the pressure around it.
Yeah. One of the things, and you kind of alluded to this earlier, and again, now I'm thinking about it. I don't know if Hormozi said this or if it was James Clear, one of those people smarter than me that talks a lot about habits and that sort of thing. But you kind of mentioned it earlier about you don't have to think about brushing your teeth, right? Mm-hmm. It's not like you're like, oh my gosh, I have so much discipline. I brush my teeth every day, right? You don't have to do that. You had the discipline up front, so now it's a habit. And I think that's something that's helpful for people to think about too, right? Like whether it's starting to follow a good nutritional program or getting consistent with your workouts. Yeah, early on, it might take some discipline, right? You got to make sure the shoes are out and the kit's ready and you can get to the gym. But you do that for 3 or 4 months. Now it's baked in. It's already on your schedule. It's a habit. Mm-hmm. And so I think a lot of this stuff, right? A lot of these big changes happen early on. And if you can kind of win, like you alluded to, either that first couple weeks or maybe that midway 50 to 60% point in your journey, if you can win those 2 time periods, then ultimately you can probably unlock things that are really long lasting, or maybe even, something you can maintain the rest of your life.
Yeah. Our good friend Luca always says this, and it's always stuck with me: awareness precedes change. And so sometimes in the moment where you get to that point and you need to make a hard choice to create a big change, just being aware that point will come is helpful.
Yes.
People just need to know it. They're not blindsided by it. And same thing with choosing hard. Sometimes just accepting that there's going to be a point where I got to choose hard. Like when you do that and you can associate the hard decision with the positive outcome, that's really helpful. We see this with people, even with weight loss. We're like, hey, let's link your weight loss goal to these other areas of life. How will your job be better? How will your sleep be better? How will your marriage be better? How will playing with your kids be better? How will social events be better? How will next summer traveling be better? Yeah. And you start realizing, okay, it's not just like, I want to look better. It's vanity, but also all these other things improve. And it stems from micro hard decisions, right? I was talking to my wife about this recently. Actually, she's not a gym rat like me, which I actually love because it kind of balances me out a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
And we were talking about New Year's goals and everything. And she said something along the lines of, I wish I found that one kind of fitness I just love. I wish I could get more into it because I just love it. It's she brought up a couple of friends who love running, and this other gal loves this Pilates thing. And I was like, do you think they loved it before they started it? She was like, what do you mean? I'm like, I guarantee they did it because they wanted the result bad enough. And then after they started doing these things to get the result, they found something that they love inside of it. So nobody goes into I started training because I wanted to lose weight. I was insecure. And then I fell in love with training because I love training. So I don't expect people to be like me if they decide to lose a little bit of weight, but it's I took it really far, but I found the thing I love. So I think that ultimately, and I tell a lot of people this too, I'm very biased to strength training, strength conditioning. Sure. That's what I do. But there's a lot of people I'm like, hey, if you just need to get healthy, lose weight, you like Zumba, great. Fucking Zumba it up. Do it as much as you can. Yeah. If you're active, then that's what matters. But go try Zumba. And if you hate it, go try the next thing until you find the thing that you love. But just being aware and accepting on the front end that nobody loves it initially. It's very rare that somebody is going to instantly just I'm going to pick this and love it. It's no, they're going to pick that because they need the result, and it's going to kind of suck at first. And as they progress, they love results and they love progressing. And if they're naturally good at that thing or lean towards it, then maybe it becomes something they love in that process,
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Something I want to talk about. We've talked numerous times probably over the years and over the hundreds of episodes here about the 10,000 hour rule, right? Everybody's heard of Erickson's 10,000 hour rule. And, for many, many years, everybody wore that like a badge of honor, right? And I hit my 10,000 hours, I'm an expert, right?
Yeah.
Now you've read that research and, there's a little bit of a caveat there. So would you talk to us about how it's not just the 10,000 hours, but it's really putting in the effort and really working through some of the hard changes, right, in those difficult times that actually makes the biggest difference there?
Yeah, I got a couple good examples of this. So one, I would just say, I remember initially hearing about this and deciding I needed to get my 10,000 hours way back. And then I lost track. And then when I went back, and this is actually not too long ago, I was like, I've probably done 10,000 hours of coaching and calls and all that. And I was so far beyond 10,000, and I still feel like I'm so far away from where I want to be that it's kind of eye-opening. You're like, oh, okay. It's the process. It's the pursuit of growth. If another good example, unrelated to 10,000 hours, but related to what is in that 10,000 hours that actually matters. I have somebody who works on my staff who does back-end stuff, leads, follow-ups, those kind of things. And when her pay was based on, hey, I basically checking boxes. You're going to get paid this no matter what, but I need you to do this many follow-ups per week.
Right.
It's one thing. Then it was, you're going to get paid based on how many follow-ups turn into booked calls. This is how many minimum you have. Anything over this, you get bonuses. All of a sudden we started having more booked calls. Why is that? It's because the effort within it mattered more. So if I'm just focused on checking off an hourly box, it's probably not going to matter as much as if I'm trying to do something for a specific result. And so I think that when you have the 10,000 hours, it's a combination of things. Your intention behind what you're doing and where you want to go is not linked to 10,000 hours. It's 10,000 hours happens along the way. And if that's true for you, I think at the end of it, you're going to be very successful because you're just focused on getting better and growing. And it's this never ending pursuit. It's this white belt mentality. And you're excited to check off 10,000 hours along the way versus once I hit 10,000 hours, I'll be successful. Now I'm putting in mindless hours just to check off the boxes. You know, Alex Hormozi actually said this too. He said using that, he broke it down into an equation and was like, so if I just realized if I spend the first 3 hours of every single day isolating myself to the most important thing, I will reach 10,000 hours doing that one thing and be great at it. And so he basically was like, I think his example was for him, it was marketing like leads and stuff. He was like, so I spent the first 3 hours of my day undisturbed, only doing this one thing so I could reach 10,000 hours. He was like, I started growing exponentially way before I hit 10,000 and I just forgot about counting. But was it the 10,000 hours or was it that he was doing the same thing every day, working on the same thing every day for the first 3 hours of his day, every single day? And mind you, I say 3 hours because then he went and ran a company and gyms and those kind of things. So he's probably doing more than that. But for coaches listening, I think it's especially true. It's like, okay, if you need to work on program design, what if you spent the first 3 hours of every day, Monday through Friday, only studying and working on program design, writing programs for yourself, your friends, your family, your clients, studying books, reading other people's programs, listening to programming podcasts. That's all you did. You'd be pretty freaking good. You'd be pretty good. Probably well before 10,000 hours. It's that repetitive input. And I think that ultimately is what makes the biggest difference. I don't know anybody who really checks off the hours like that. I think it's more so that kind of like I said, you think about it, you read about it early on, and then at some point you realize like, oh, I blew past that. I didn't even realize I'm way beyond that. And I still got plenty to go because I love growing.
Yeah. You know? I think that's such a great way to look at it. And I remember reading that or hearing that when I was younger and having that same thought process, right? Like, oh, if I do this many hours, at what age will I hit that? But like you said, I think the most important pieces there, the words I wrote down were intentionality and focus. Yeah. Right? You're not mindlessly doing stuff. You're not just clocking hours and counting reps. Like you're really locked in. If you're writing a program, you're focused like, hey, what is this exercise going to do for me? What adaptation am I going to get when I'm coaching? You know, if I turn this person's knee out, what happens and why does that happen? Like that level of thought is far surpassing just like, yeah, hey, good job, buddy. What are we doing this weekend? You know? Yeah. Like it's a different level.
It is. And I think I want to say this lightly because I know that there's not everybody can just turn their passion into their career. I understand that. It's not that simple. We're obviously blessed that that's what we did. And there came a lot of sacrifice and hard work along with that, of course. But I would do this for free, you know, like, and I think that's where you don't count the hours when it's like that. Now, I do think I read this thing that was talking about instead of trying to turn your passion to your career, turn your career into your passion. And I think that does a lot for people. If you can't figure out what your passion is that could be profitable, be passionate about your career to the point where you're just obsessed with growing and being the best and putting in effort. And if you feel, and they actually see this linked with testosterone levels. When testosterone's higher, effort feels good and people put in effort. Half the reason guys build more muscle when on testosterone is because they like the feeling of working hard, right? Obviously, there's a kick up in muscle protein synthesis and such. But having worked with, you know, not myself, obviously, but I've worked with steroid using bodybuilders, there's a lot more going on than just testosterone. I'm not in charge of the pharmacology. I make that very clear up front. I'm like, I do not know what I'm doing here. You have a doctor or somebody, but I'll do your training, your nutrition during your prep. Yeah. They're on, you know, insulin, growth hormone, IGF-1, like all thyroid hormone once they start dieting because their metabolism slows down, all these different things. It's not just TRT makes them huge, right? But testosterone increases motivation, it increases drive, it increases effort. Effort feels good, and you should become obsessed with that part, you know? And I think that's really, I don't know, because even for myself, I'll find myself, my wife will come in the living room, she's like, what are you reading? I'm like, oh, I'm on ChatGPT. She's like, doing what? And I'm like, the other night, actually, I did this. She brought up one of those shake things that you stand on, the shake plates or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And she was like joking because she knew I would just rip it apart, but she was also kind of serious. Like, what do you think about this? And so she came out and she said, what are you doing? I was like, oh, I'm just pulling up all the research debunking that so that you don't worry about it anymore. And she's like, you're full of shit. I'm like, I swear to God. And I was just breaking all of it down. That's what I do when I'm bored. I look up research on adherence. I'm reading people's training programs on their website. I used to be just blogs. I'd be reading all the time. But like, it's because I don't need to get paid to do that. I love understanding it more,
Yeah, I love it. Talk to me about positive feedback. How does it help us? And ultimately, how does it help us build more self-belief?
So I think there's a few ways. One, I do think there's a lot of merit to borrowing belief from other people. I'll use a good example that'll be relative to you and probably some of your audience, I would assume. I remember being in school and watching guest speakers come in, and I loved training. I wanted to make a career out of it, but I couldn't see myself fitting the mold of what most speakers at the time were, like PT, physical therapists and stuff. And at the time, at 18 years old and where I was living and who I was, I didn't relate to it. I couldn't really see myself walking in those shoes. And then all of a sudden Lucas shows up and I see this dude wearing Jordans and a chain and he's saying the F-bomb every other word. And it created a sense of self-belief. I borrowed belief from him. He's doing it. He's done it. He doesn't look like somebody who should be doing it, but he's crushing it. And that gave me belief. And then I started popping in his gym. And then I started asking him if I could intern. And then I became an intern, right? But I borrowed belief from him. So I think that using other people's stories, other people's words, this works with clients really well. People love stories and analogies. So I'm constantly sharing my stories, my struggles, when I chose hard. Other clients that might be similar, have gone through similar things, what they went through. And I can share all this stuff, leave names out if I need to, if it's personal. But people can borrow belief from others. And that is a really, really big thing that helps a ton. And so I think for me, one of the best ways is that alone. And I know that only partially answers your question.
It's really interesting. And I hope I'm not cutting you off here, but this is something that I've talked about in some way, shape, or form for probably 20 years now. And I've been doing it basically my whole life. Instead of taking belief, right, for myself, one of the things that I feel like I did early on as a coach, because none of us are great coaches early on, right? Like none of us. Yeah. Literally nobody is birthed and they're a great coach. Yeah. The best thing that I did early on was I believed in my athletes. And I think they took that belief and then that helped them get better. And so then it became this cycle, right?
Yeah.
So they're having more success. So now I believe in myself more as a coach, right? But I think that's one of the best things we can do early on as a coach is just believe in the people that you're working with.
Yeah. And that is a perfect example of a positive feedback loop, right?
Yeah.
I think that there's also, if we think about what creates belief, it's proof, right? Confidence comes from proof. Now, you can fake it, but it's a lot easier to fake belief in somebody else than it is in yourself. So even if you had to, let's say, and I'm not saying you did this, but let's say you faked that belief a little bit just to boost some confidence in a player because you wanted to help them and you felt bad and you were like, oh, I gotta, but then all of a sudden he's doing well. And now you're like, oh shit, he's kind of crushing it. And now I have a little bit more belief in what worked. And so now it is.
Yes.
But they can't fake belief in themselves. They have to steal it from somebody or there has to be proof and evidence. So somebody who looks at our before and afters, because that's what we do. We do fat loss.
Yeah.
That is all the proof you need. Like I don't have people that come and they're like, I don't know if you can really do what you say you guys can do. I have so much proof of it at this point.
Yeah.
And so, it's the same thing with like, if you look at the jerseys on the wall, it's like, I don't know if Mike knows how to train athletes. And it's like, you got pictures of you and all these pros. And I mean, there's proof, and I think that's where a lot of people don't want to admit it because people hate to say like, I mean, at the end of the day, like a trainer should be in good shape. They should have a line of work. They should have a history of playing sports or lifting weights and having athletes around them or bodybuilders in my case and everyday people. That is proof. Like you have to have that proof. And I think that creates a lot of that. So you can borrow proof from other people. You can you can borrow belief from other people. You can create belief off of proof and evidence, which we call it, and you'll love this, we call it looking at game tape. We say that to clients because, which is ironic because we're not like big on sports or anything, but
Right.
It's the easiest way to say, like, look back at the game tape. Let's pull some evidence from what you've already done that can logically create proof and self-belief. Your emotions are getting in the way and causing you to self-sabotage and doubt yourself. But if we look back at the game tape, we can see proof that you can do this, you will do this. And when you're consistent, the results happen. That gives them the boost and the belief they need. And then lastly, I think a really cool frame to look at too is there's 3 responses to when you're around somebody who's great. So this is another reason to surround yourself with great people. And I'm stealing this from a pastor. He said it one time. He said there's 3 responses people have when they're around greatness. And that is inspiration, insecurity, and intimidation. And so if they're insecure, they're doubting themselves. They shy away. If they're inspired, they're like, I can't do that, but you're doing it. So maybe I can. What did you do? And they want to know. Right.
I like that. Yeah.
And when you have that, like that's the biggest thing. Intimidation turns into ego. It turns into pridefulness. It turns into like basically lying. You're basically saying, that's not that great and blah, blah. I've always loved that saying because it makes you check yourself. There's been times where I'm human. I will see somebody crushing it and I get kind of prideful or spite kind of fills me. And I'm like, what the hell is that? Like, they don't deserve it.
Right.
I immediately try to check myself after I heard that quote because it made me really stop and think, like, number one, why do I care if they do well? Number two, is there any logical evidence behind why they're doing well? Because there always is. There's always something. Even if it was they blew up quick, they did something to blow up quick. There's something I can learn there, right? So I can pull from it. And if I can get inspired by other people winning, I'm going to be much more likely to be successful.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, this may feel like semantics, but is there a difference between self-esteem, self-worth, and self-respect?
In some ways, no. I don't think so. I think if we were to actually pull up definitions, there are slight differences. I think self-esteem is more of a, I guess you could say, almost say like a measurement. It's like self-worth is part of self-respect. People who have high levels of self-respect essentially have good self-esteem. They have a high self-worth. They usually have good self-acceptance, self-appreciation. All these things are kind of linked together. I look at self-respect as the main one that's going to hold you accountable, right? Because I can have self-worth, which is more of the emotional side of this, and that is heavily influenced by other people as well. You know, if somebody doesn't show me my worth, I might begin to have less self-worth. Self-respect to me is the accountability of all these things. It's the accountability of the standard you're creating. When you respect yourself, it's not really an emotional decision or option, kind of like discipline. I don't want to do this. My emotions tell me this sucks. I don't want to do it, but I'm going to do it because I'm a disciplined person. Being a disciplined person is a standard. People who respect themselves have standards. So it's all kind of tied together and it kind of loops around and kind of like that feedback loop. It helps you stick to the process. Whereas I think self-worth takes a lot of discovery. I think it takes a lot of digging deep. A lot of times I think people can have a good amount of self-respect and be very disciplined and still not have self-worth where it needs to be, if that makes sense. Because I think it can be, there's a lot of, I would say, especially like childhood trauma and stuff that can impact somebody's self-worth, and it has nothing to do with them personally. It has everything to do with how they were treated by others. And it's dug kind of deep. They can be accountable and have respect for themselves and treat themselves well, but their internal dialogue has a low amount of self-worth in certain situations. I think it plays a role. The more self-worth you have, definitely the more appreciation you have. When you have a lot of appreciation for yourself, you're more likely to respect yourself. But the way we kind of look at it is self-respect is not something we coach people on necessarily. It's almost like it's like the finish line. It's like the ending version of you that you get. When you get to the end of this process of, displaying self-control, creating self-belief, creating self-discipline, developing more self-belief, you become somebody who has a high level of self-respect. That's who you become by the end of it. And we know you're ready to keep yourself accountable when you reach that point.
Yeah. I think after going through all your shows, and I would love to hear your thoughts or your feedback here, I almost think of it as maybe it's like an equation or like a flow chart, right? It's like you have the self-control and the self-discipline, right? that kind of leads to your self-belief. You start doing the things. So now you start to believe in yourself, right? Maybe you pulled that from others. Then you apply that self-belief over time. You believe in yourself more, right? You continue to see the changes and the progress. And then ultimately that leads to the self-respect. Mm-hmm. Is that something that like kind of jives with you, or how do you think about it?
Yeah. So it's interesting because she's a coach and director of coaching on my staff, Ariel. She broke it down in an equation as well afterwards. That's how she sees it. The graphic I use when I'm presenting on this or showing people this is actually, and this actually came from, I was doing a presentation. I had made a podcast out of it, but because it was somebody that worked, one of my clients works for Microsoft, and she was like, "You got to do more content on this." And it was about personal standards and identity, but I used this within it, and I just did like a map. It was like this pathway, and there was like flagpoles on each point. So to me, I see this path, I see this journey, but it's very difficult to skip ahead. They work in tandem. And at the same time, you're going to be, displaying self-control everywhere. And maybe you build discipline in certain areas of your life first. That's totally fine. You keep applying backwards, but you still got to go in that order. And then I might embark on a new journey. And like I got into running, and it was like, all right, I'm going to do this half marathon. I've never ran since I was playing soccer as a kid. Right. But I'm doing this. It was a challenge. It was somebody saying like, choose hard, bro. And I was like, all right. I had to go back to the beginning. I was like, okay, waking up to use self-control. The other day I went and ran, and it was 28 degrees, or no, I'm sorry. It was 42, which I was like, oh, this is nice. And it said, feels like 26. And it's raining. And I was like, oh God. I stared out the window for a while, Yeah. So this is also not, once you're disciplined, it's just nothing matters. I still had to sit there and look out the window and go, you're not going to do this shit. Come on, this is ridiculous. You don't need to run. Like, I'm talking to myself. Right. But me being able to still do it was, I took control of the moment. I used my discipline. I went and got it done. By the time I got back, I had more belief in myself. I respect the dude that is out there running in what feels like 26 degrees in the rain. Yeah. Well, guess what? That dude is me. So now I can respect myself more. And I think looking at the game tape, reviewing that, reflecting on it, that's a big piece of this too, is like reflecting, because a lot of people will do stuff and they don't take the time. I posted this yesterday. If you don't stop and smell the roses, you'll stop having roses to smell. So if you don't stop and appreciate what you're doing and show up and be like, me talking to myself, Cody, I respect you for this. Like when we do gratitude, we have a gratitude journal. I often tell people, write a couple about yourself in there. I'll write about my wife. I'll write personally. I write about Jesus, and then I write Cody. I'm grateful for Cody's drive to do this, and I'm doing it because it works as an affirmation to develop more respect for myself.
I really like that. That's cool, dude. Okay, so we've like covered so much ground, and I guarantee somebody's listening to this and like, hey man, all this sounds good. Give me some actionable stuff, right? The TLDR. So could you give me 2 to 3 things that our listeners can start doing right now, today, to start becoming a more confident and capable version of themselves?
Yeah. The number one thing you can do is, it's going to be different for everybody, but it's a simple, like it's a one question you have to answer, and then you just got to act on it. And I look at this like there's two parts of this. Part one is to ask yourself, and I would write it down because it's always better when it's written on paper. What is the one thing that you are avoiding, that you've been avoiding, and you are avoiding taking action on and doing for yourself? Keyword, for yourself. We have to make sure that we're choosing hard, not doing hard. Because, for example, when I do something that is hard because I have to, whether it's because it's parenting or it's business or somebody's relying on me, I'm not going to get the same psychological effect. I'm not going to grow the same way. Especially if I'm doing hard things because I'm going through something, it's happening to me to an extent. I have to do this. I'm not growing. The act of choosing to do the hard thing is what really instills growth in people, because I don't have to do this shit. I do not have to do this thing. I am choosing to put myself through this. That's where growth happens. And so the first step is looking at what you're avoiding. And then the second step is doing it as fast as possible. Yes. Don't wait. The longer you wait, the more you procrastinate, the worse it is. And partially because you'll just talk yourself out of it. But the second part is the quicker you act, the shorter that feedback loop is. And that's reaffirming your belief. The quicker I can say I'm going to do something and follow through and do it, the better that feedback loop is to increase my belief. Because I don't wait. I don't hesitate. I don't procrastinate. I just go. I just do. I take action. I pull the trigger. When you become one of those types of people, you're a go-getter. You're an action taker. You get shit done. You believe in yourself more. Right.
Dude,
so
I love that.
Yeah. I think I love that. That's it.
What I wrote down was that here's the opposite of that, right? If you continue to avoid it and you know you're avoiding it, think about how that erodes your self-belief.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? You're like, oh man, I know I should do that. I know I should do that. Now think about what you're telling yourself every time you avoid that or you put it off.
Yeah.
Right?
I never
That's really
cool.
I
never get it done.
That's really good.
Yeah. I struggle with taking action. It's always hard for me to do the work. I really suck at waking up early. I'm not a morning person. I'm just not much of a gym guy. Like, we say those, it's crazy to think about. But like, in what I love doing, and I would encourage coaches to do this, you have to have a certain level of confidence to speak with clients this way. But a lot of times I'm just like, oh, really? Okay. So who created that rule? Who dictated that? Who determined you're not a morning person? Is that a genetic thing? And when you just challenge them and they get a moment to actually think, and it sounds stupid, that you kind of realize, and we all do this. We all do this. Yeah. When I write things down in my journal, I realize how stupid it sounds. If it's in my head, it's just what I talk. But if I can write it out, I instantly am like, that sounds dumb. Like I'm stopping myself from growing for no reason, you know?
Yes.
I was talking to a really good friend of mine. We meet at the beginning of the year. He's like, so it's, ironically, his name's Cody too. Kind of like how Andy and Luke are. Him and I have done stuff together. He was a client of mine. Now he's just a great friend. Except he's 6'7", so it's like,
oh my gosh,
big Cody and small Cody. It's hilarious.
Big dude, yeah.
But we were talking about stuff, and there was things I didn't have anybody else to talk to about, and so to me, it just sounded like I'm right for sure. This makes sense, and this is holding me back things. And then as we're going over goals, I literally started saying things, and followed the things I said with, that sounds stupid. That's not right. I can do better than that. And he just smiled. But it's, unfortunately, this goes back to what you said, how does your environment and people around you? You have to have people around you that you respect enough to challenge you and to accept feedback from. And when you're around them and you're starting to work these things, this is all I've ever done. I've been in the industry for 15 years now. Since I was 18, that's all I've ever done. And I still, to this day, I'm working on stuff, and I think that's
cool.
I don't know. When you say it in your head, it just it sounds legit. And then you put it on paper and it's like,
yeah.
Dude,
what's next for Cody McBroom? What are you working on? What are you excited about? Anything?
Yeah. Man, the coaching company and the app is just kind of those are the stable. That's what we're doing. I love podcasting. So we're going to keep pushing that and growing that and doing some cool stuff there. The thing I'm working on behind the scenes that I actually haven't told anybody about this really. A couple of people know, but I haven't publicly talked much about it, is certification course. So we're,
nice.
I bought the license, the title, everything to Online Coaching Specialist Certifications, OCSC, in 2017, and did nothing with it until just this year. Yeah. This last year. And part of it was like, I know at some point what my goals are. I know what I want to do with the company. I want to teach others how to do this the right way. I don't know when. I want to be ready for it, but there's no good certifications for online coaching. There's great certifications. Even those are few and far between, to be honest with you, but there's mostly good coaching, good mentoring. And then there's some good certifications in between, but they're very isolated. There's not anything that really teaches people what we've learned how to do in the online world specifically. Yes. And I think that's probably where you're going to find the most bad coaches, is in the online space. And so I really want to be able to impact that. And we've helped a lot of people just through mentoring and coaching and the podcast. And it got to a point where I'm like, all right, I think we're ready to build something where we can teach people what we're doing and how we're doing it.
That's cool.
And I'm excited about that. So there's not like a deadline or pressure of when it is, but one of my Ariel, who's on my staff, she's doing a lot of it with me. She's flying out again at the beginning of next month to record more modules. We're doing them here in studio. So it's like we're putting a lot of effort and thought process into it. But I'm excited about that. Really cool.
No, I'm excited to see what that looks like, man. Like you said, a lot of shysters in the online training space. So we need some good like pillar content, some North Stars that people can go to and learn. And again, you've obviously been doing this for a long time, man. So I'm excited to see what that looks like.
Thank you.
Cody, where can my listeners find out more about you, man?
Yeah, Cody McBroom on Instagram. I post a decent amount. I used to post more. I'm gonna honestly say I care much less about it than I used to. It's just not. It is what it is. Tailoredcoachingmethod.com. We put up content on there. Our coaching's on there. Everything like that. And then Choose Hard podcast on Instagram or on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, everything like that. Choose Hard is the best content for us, like what we put out. That's the podcast. And then everything else, just Cody McBroom or Tailored Coaching Method.
I love it. I'll get links to all that in the show notes. Again, if you've listened to the whole show, this was just like a taste. And if you want like the deep dive into the research and the studies and everything else, this 4-part series that Cody put together was really, really fantastic. And again, Cody, man, thank you so much for coming on, brother. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you for having me on, man.